Hello and welcome to Rich's Home Mechanics, and today we're going to be changing an oil filter and changing the oil on this Fiat Doblo van, and I'll explain the reason why it's really important to do oil and filter changes on a regular basis. Let's crack on. Okay, let's get this oil out. First things first, you need to clean this plug. Anywhere where you're going to take oil out or put oil in, give it a good clean. Don't want any dirt or grit on there. And then you want a good fitting socket or spanner. Sometimes they're a spanner, sometimes they're a socket, sometimes they're a special size spanner set that you can use, but this is just a normal Allen key. Right, you want a good fit. You do not want it to be sloppy. You don't want to slip on it. Give it a good crack, just a little crack. There you go. There, she's gone. She's loose. And what we're going to do now, we're going to dump this old dirty engine oil into here, but make sure you've got a big enough tub. This takes about just under 5 litres, so I know this tub is capable of taking all the engine oil, but don't do a silly mistake and use a little tub and realise it's going to overfill. And when you take it out, just keep hold of that plug, because as the oil wants to come out, it's going to push that plug out of your hand, and then you're going to have to dig deep into the old oil in that tub to retrieve it. So see what I'm doing? I'm just coming to the end of it. Here we come. And let's fill that up like that. Here we go. Making sure I put the plug, wipe the plug safely out the way, keep it out of the way. So now we're just going to let that drain for a few minutes. There we go. Right, oil's drained. We're now going to give that a quick wipe. Make sure the copper O-ring is in good condition. If not, replace it. You should normally replace these every time you take the sump plug out, but this one seems okay. We're happy with that. We're going to put this back in and we're going to screw it in. Vitally important, do it this way. Make sure you put that sump bolt in, or plug, whatever you want to call it, straight away once our oil is drained. You do not want to forget that. It's easily done, and you put your oil in from the top and wonder why it's never filling up. That would be the reason why, because it's pouring on the floor. These need to be tight, but not over tight. They, again, you are bolting, this sump bolt goes into an aluminium sump here, so it doesn't need to be too tight. So I'm going to do my 3-point method, my 3 pull, which is 1, 2, take it out, wind it back, and 3. There we go. I'm happy with that. Give it a quick wipe. Right, next stage is we need to take the oil filter off. Don't forget to move the oil box across. Now, there's lots and lots of ways of taking these oil filters off. The old school, we used to use a screwdriver and bang a screwdriver straight through there. Really messy way of doing it. We use these sort of things now. You can get straps, but I personally find these very cheap, about 10-12 quid. They're adjustable, they'll fit any really big oil filters or air filters, or any cone you need to get undone. They fit really well. They do the job. So what we're going to do, we're going to slide it on there like so, remembering we've got to undo anti-clockwise. So here we go. These shouldn't be tight. These should not be tight. And there we go. That's not tight. You turn it, you release it, slide it back round. What a brilliant bit of kit. These are absolutely brilliant oil filter removals. I say on eBay, 10-12 quid. They're absolutely not a lot. I'm just making sure that I've got that drum underneath, because obviously this oil filter will still be holding oil in there. There'll be the dregs. So what we're going to do now, I've got a bit of rag ready. I've also got the tub underneath, and I'm just going to undo it by hand, just loosely. Going to let the excess oil drain off. There we go. That is the oil that was just held in the oil filter and the oil filter housing. You can see how dirty that oil is. Let's just let that run off. Now you can see, if we didn't have that bucket underneath or this cardboard, we would be making a very big mess. As you can see, I've got all sheets on the floor to protect the drive. I think we're nearly there. Let's unscrew it fully. And what I normally do to save making a mess, I dump this oil filter straight into the oil drum that I'm collecting the oil in, and later on I will dispose of it. Here we go, look, full of oil. And we're going to put that in there, out of harm's way. And we'll leave that for a few minutes just to let that drain out of that oil housing. Let's get this new oil filter on, shall we? Right, what we need to do, whenever you put an oil filter on, get some clean engine oil and just put a little film around this rubber seal. Sometimes these seals come fitted in the oil filter, sometimes they don't. You have to put them in, but this particular circumstance, the oil O-ring, the oil seal, is already fitted. This is vitally important. You do put a little bit of clean oil on there. It helps make a seal when you do it up. Now what we're going to do now, we're going to hand tighten this first. Now again, these do not need to be majorly tight. It should just spin on nicely. There we go. See that spinning on? And that oil on there, and what you do now, you just hand tight it on as tight as you can with your hand, like that, until you can't do it anymore. Here we go. Re-reach for the tool. Now, these do not need to be majorly tight. They obviously need to be tight to make a seal, but the rubber gasket in there is what's making the seal on here. So you do these tight, but not over tight. I'm feeling it myself. That's why I've not got the whole of my hand doing it. I'm using the end of the tool to do it, so I can feel I'm not over tightening. See, that's pulling up nicely now. Again, don't do these too tight because you could damage the oil filter. These just have to nip onto the oil filter. Don't have to be majorly tight. Now we're coming tight like that. I can feel resistance there quite a bit. We're going to give it my 3-step pull, tighten, which is 1, and again gently just feel the tension, 2, and the last one is just the little torque. I'm happy with that. That's on. Take that off and give that a quick clean round. Get rid of all the old oil which you'd already done. I'd already cleaned around the housing before we fitted it. You want to do this because when you put the oil in and you start it, you want to make sure it's not leaking. And if you've left old oil there from the previous oil filter change, you're not going to be able to tell. So we're nice and clean. We're ready to put fresh oil in this engine. And the last thing I normally do when I do an oil filter change is I write the date that I did the oil filter change, because I can then look at it and go, oh, it's due an oil filter change. So I'm actually going to write the date on here. These are a special pen you can buy off, again, off the internet, off eBay, couple of quid. They're a paint pen. It's what the scrap yards use. You know, when you buy parts from a scrap yard and they mark it and identify it if you take things apart. It's one of them. You give it a shake. And the date today is the 24th of the, what are we now? Crikey, lost the month now. October 10th. 20. So I now know that on the 24th of October I did an oil and filter change. Simples, job done. Let's get on with this oil. Here we go, just a quick one. This is why I write things on. So I wrote on this particular van when I done the cam belt change, so I now know, or the next owner after me knows, when this cam belt and water pump needs replacing. Let's get some fresh oil in this engine, shall we? As before, where you're entering oil, always wipe the top. Anything round here will end up in that engine, so make sure it's clean before you do that. Place that safely. Also clean the funnel. This particular funnel has got a filter in there as just as a backup. There probably could not be, but just in case you have any rubbish, it will filter out and stop it getting into the engine. Let's get some oil in here. Gently, gently, slowly, slowly. Now this engine I think takes 4.8 litres. Now I've got a 5-litre can here, so I'm not obviously going to fill it right up. Let that fill up there. Going in quite nicely. Here we go. Nice, fresh, clean oil. The importance of changing oil is so important for engines. If you can imagine, as an engine runs, it gradually wears metal particles which come off the engine, and if you don't change the oil regular, then metal particles go round and round and round the engine, and that's why engines wear very quickly, especially on diesels. Diesels need regular oil filter changes, or when they should be having them, especially if you're running a turbo. Turbos are cooled by oil, and if you've got thick oil, the turbo will not cool and your turbo could fail. It's drastically important that you change oil. A lot of people think, oh, it still runs. Yes, it will still run, but it's going to wear the engine prematurely. Don't do it. I don't, and I'm running old motors here. This is an O2 van which still goes through MOTs and still starts up in the winter every day because I look after it. If you look after it, it will look after you. Right, we're nearly there now. Now that's 3/4 of the tub. Now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to let that just gradually go in there. Cap it off. A bit of rag. Put that on there. That should be good to go. And what we're going to do next is we're going to drop this van on the floor and we're going to recheck it. So basically that is the oil done. Thank you for watching my video, and if you enjoyed it, please feel free to subscribe and press that notifier so you'll be notified of any new projects which are coming. And trust me, we've got some nice projects on their way. Take care. See you on the next episode of Richard's Home Mechanics.